All right, we're good to go. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Palmer Times. And before we start, we have a really important message from our producer, Timbo. So, this is from Timbo. This is not for me. This is in his words. All right. To Lieutenant Governor Joao Human, although I myself was offended with the comment you made when he said let Alder Group stick to the polls, I find it necessary to realize that I was partly in the wrong. Although we try to speak the voice of the people, I feel that the slander was not necessary. I do still strongly believe multiple news organizations is necessary to get every side. On behalf of the Palmer Times, we apologize for slandering you. All right. Thanks, Timbo. And then next, I got some comments regarding this as well. So I'd like to apologize as well. The poll was not a targeted attack against you, Joel. We were using the poll so we could get it as a talking point during the interview that we had with you. The poll was not made in any malice attempt. We took action on our previous mistakes and we took down the article. And we would like to continue to work together. We should not let this mistake cause harm, and instead we should all move past this. We should all take responsibility for the other night and move on from it and grow. All right, so this is for context of what happened the other night. So on Sunday afternoon, for context, the Palmer Times did release a quote-unquote article against Lieutenant Governor Joao Human after part in the interview did not go as well as we planned. Our president, Timbo Walk, responded to Lieutenant Governor Joao Human saying that he was frustrated and it was him venting out all his frustration out after the comments he made. All right, next part. This is regarding Maxtro, the Ridgeway State Police colonel that got removed. So on January 25th, 2023, former colonel of RSP, Maxtro was forcibly removed from his position with Governor Large Titanic not renewing his term. The recent Palmer Times poll concluded the following results on Maxtro's performance. 50% approved, 16.7% disapproved, and 33% were unsure. The Palmer Times then asked if the citizens of Ridgeway believed that Governor Large Titanic was justified in not renewing Maxtro's term. The poll concluded the following results. 55.8% believed that Governor Large Titanic was justified. 54.2% believed that Governor Large Titanic was not justified. They show similar results to if people approved of Maxtro. We haven't only seen disapproval of these actions here. We've seen them all through Ridgeway in different ways. The disapproval of Large Titanic is loud, especially in the Ridgeway State Senate Police. The Palmer Times had an opportunity to listen to RSP Lieutenant Daniel Reagan make a rap on Governor Large Titanic too. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but right now it sounds a little bit crazy. We have yet to get an official response from the governor, but we are planning on an interview with former RSP Colonel and Trooper Maxtro. Okay, this is regarding the Alder Group's poll that just finished today. So ever since the last eventful weeks last week, consisting of Maxtro's term not being renewed, as well as the Firearms Act going into effect, we've noticed a sharp decline in Large Titanic's approval. The Palmer Times goes to a recent Alder Group poll conducted on January 21st, 2023, with the sample being 61 showing the approval of Governor Large Titanic 2 being at 52.8%. Lieutenant Governor Joao's approval rating was at 57.4%. On the recent poll conducted on the Palmer Times on January 26th, it did show a similar trend. We had a sample of 24 people. The Palmer Times can conclude that Governor Large Titanic's approval is 29.2%, and Lieutenant Governor Joao's approval is 54.2%. On the Alder Group poll conducted 2 days ago, their poll reflected similar outcomes. Believe it or not, they were worse than what we had. With a sample of 48, their poll shows that Governor Large Titanic's 2 approval rating was 25%, with a staggering nearly 65% of people disapproving him. This is the lowest approval rating that Large Titanic 2 has ever had by a huge margin. His net approval rating on the recent Alder Group being negative 39.6% on the Alder Group conducted on January 21st. His net approval rating was 16.4%. These aren't the only approval ratings suffering through. The Secretary of State, Dominic 8, has an approval rating of 25%. On the recent poll conducted by the Palmer Times, Senator Dan Labs has an approval rating of only 21%. although his approval rating has I can't forget Battalion Gavin. I'm sure we already know the outcome of this, but it's always been pretty bad. His he is making a comeback though. His approval rating has always been negative on the Alder poll. The Palmer Times can say it's on the rise. Battalion Gavin's approval rating was 33.3%, and his net approval was negative 4.2% on our recent poll. We also have a first time ever seen in the state of Ridgeway. Director of Ridgeway County Transit Authority, Peace Download, has an approval rating of 83%. This is his highest approval rating of any department head, as well as the highest approval rating of any government official. We applaud Peace Download for this achievement. Oh, man. Now we got to move on to the Firearms Act. This is leading up to you, Sage. So get ready. Last week, an announcement that was made allowing police officers to enforce the Firearms Act, signed into law 2 weeks ago by Governor Large Titanic II, also leading to the lawsuit of NRA against Large Titanic, asking him to resign. Ever since this law officially went into effect, there has been a huge stir in Ridgeway firearms community. The Ridgeway National Rifle Association is an organization that has expressed their opinions loudly on Governor Large Titanic II. In their recent statement on Governor Large Titanic, the NRA says, quote unquote, "We have lost all confidence in Governor Large Titanic's leadership, and we believe the best thing he can do for the state of Ridgeway is resign." In the recent poll conducted by the Palmer Times, we can conclude the following. 62.5% of people do agree with the Firearms Act. 87.5% of people do not believe that the law enforcement officer should be able to carry firearms that exceed the 15-round capacity limit. 25% of people believe that firearms that exceed the 15-round capacity limit should be allowed to carry for any citizen. 79% of people believe that gun violence is a real issue. With this being said, the Palmer Times welcomes the president of the Ridgeway National Rifle Association, Sage. All right. Hello, Sage. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we start?
Hello, I'm glad to be here. Right now I do not, but I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
All right, awesome. We'll get started. So, as you heard seconds ago when we did conduct our poll, it seems that there's 40% that don't agree with the Firearms Act. With that being said, how do you believe the Senate could have amended this bill to be better?
Overall, I disagree with everything that they put on the bill. I believe that it was all unnecessary, and it's just the Senate and the government in an attempt to try to just take firearms away from the people. The Senate should just outright disagree with the bill as it is. I believe the only reason they wanted to amend it was so that they could work with the governor to keep a good relation with them.
Yeah, could you explain how this bill did affect your business, the National Rifle Association?
The National Rifle Association, they act on what they believe is best to preserve the Second Amendment right, which is given to, the people who live in the United States, Ridgeway being included. The majority, well, not the majority, all of the members in the National Rifle Association, including the supporters who have not made membership, are all people who support the Second Amendment and want free and just firearm rights. I believe that it is in the interest of everyone in the association when we say that this is an unnecessary bill.
All right, thank you for that. So does the NRA believe that Governor Large Titanic II is failing the Senate, or not the Senate, failing the state in different ways, and not just firearms? And if so, in what ways is he failing the state?
The NRA only looks at the law, or the NRA only gives the opinion on stuff that has to do with the law. I don't really want to make comments on anything else in the state because it's not really what the association is about. Because, as I said, our primary goal is to preserve firearm laws, and that's all we care to go for.
All right. So we do know that you do have a lawsuit against Governor Large Titanic, and you are asking him to resign. Do you have anyone planned, if he was to resign, to take his place?
Right now, we do not have anyone specific in mind, but if that time were to come, we would look at those interested in running and find who best supports our ideologies and support them. We don't When we went into this lawsuit, our goal was not to try to replace him with a specific person. It was just to let it be known that we don't support what he's doing and that there are people we may not have seen yet who do hold better interests for the state.
Okay, so you would be looking into that once if you did win the lawsuit. Do you think that you have a good chance of winning this lawsuit against Large?
I do believe so. It all
And,
goes based off of the Second Amendment, which is what we're fighting for. The
and you,
magazine capacity, or I'm sorry, what were we saying?
you do believe that this bill is taken away from the Second Amendment, right?
I do believe that, yes.
Okay. So this bill, according to the National Rifle Association, is taken away from the Second Amendment, right? And they want this to be fixed. So if Governor Large was voted out and a new governor came in, what do you plan on doing with them to fix this bill? Would you have any contacts with this new governor?
The NRA likes to let their let what they believe would be best to preserve the firearm laws be known to anyone who goes in and changes law in office. No matter who it is, we would work with or at least try to give our voices to them because or like how we feel about it because the NRA is the largest like association that stands up for rights in this state. And with that being said, the
All right.
I'm sorry, what are you saying?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The NRA being the largest association that does have a massive followers with the same objective in mind, we believe it would be I'm sorry, we believe it would be best that
He does resign. Okay. I think he's having some issues right now. Give him 1 second.
okay, I'm sorry, yeah. I believe it would be best if he were to resign, and that is what I believe that all of the majority of people in the association would also agree with.
All right. So the NRA isn't just suing Large for themselves and their business, but they're suing for the people. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yes, the NRA does not just represent the people who are in it. We represent everyone in the state who believes in just firearm laws.
All right, awesome. So he is suing for the people, not just the business. So another thing, we have seen that firearms have been pretty deadly within Ridgeway as of late. Do you believe that you're contributing to these shootings? And are you selling to anyone that could be contributing to these shootings?
First off, I'd like to say that I don't consider the NRA to be a business. Nothing we do is for profit. It's not done for anyone. It's done purely to support the Second Amendment and those who wish to support it. But in terms of the gun crime, I do not believe that this law has I do not believe that this law has lowered gun crime because no matter what, people are going to get guns illegally. All this law does is make it so they can't walk around with them. The way that Ridgeway works, you can still keep a firearm unequipped and you can still pull it out at the last second whenever you'd like to do something. This is just an unnecessary law to suppress those who do follow the law or those who are cops or in a position where they cannot afford a record.
Yeah, that is true. It is really easy to get these guns, and making them illegal is not really helping in the situation with gun crime. All right, next question. So, you do not have anyone that you would support currently if the governor was replaced. Um, so does the NRA only disapprove of Large Titanic too, or is there anyone else in the government that the NRA also disapproves of, including his administration or the Lieutenant Governor Joao?
As of the time being, it is only large as he is the one who supported this law. In fact, well, he was the one who finalized off on signing the law. But actually, I do remember when this law was being considered. He said in game that the only reason he passed the law is because he thought it was what the people wanted and he thought it would give the government something to do, which leads me to believe that he didn't pass the law because he thought it would be in the good interest of people. He only passed the law because he wanted to pass it off as his government actually accomplishing something.
All right, and it wasn't just large that participated in this bill being passed. Are you planning on doing anything about the Senate that created this bill?
As of now, there's nothing in mind because all the responsibility lies on the governor because he is the one who approved of it.
All right. Next question. Also, I'd like to remind the viewers, we only have a couple in here right now, but if you do have any questions, feel free to either ask them in VC, just give me a warning so we can fix your roles. And if you want me to read them, just send them to me as well, and we can ask them to Sage. All right. So you did say that the NRA doesn't have anything to do with going after the Senate currently. Do you believe that there is a possibility that you guys would try and do something about the Senate making these bills and giving them the large to sign off?
Previously, the NRA has fallen into irrelevance. It used to be bigger in the beginning of Ridgeway, even so that the majority of elected governors and others were endorsed by the NRA. Now, with the NRA coming back into relevance, I hope that we will be able to work with senators and future governors in everything that they do, and that our voice, not just of what the staff of the NRA, but also the members and the people who either do not want to be a part of the NRA or who are not, but support laws, that all their voices are heard.
All right, thank you. So I say that we do move on to viewer questions. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we do move on to any viewer questions?
Yes, as I said before, I'm repeating myself, but I don't consider the NRA to be a business. I consider it to be an association that represents the views of both its members and the people of the state. The only, well, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna move on to oh yeah, also I forgot to ask this question. Have you ever carried a firearm that's exceeded the 15 round limit before this law was signed?
Yes, I have.
All right. Just want to know that. So you do know the capabilities of the weapons.
Yes, I've been in the Ridgeway County Sheriff's Office for almost 2 years now, and being a law enforcement officer, you work daily with the M2A, which is a 30-round automatic rifle, and that familiarizes me with the capabilities of the firearm. But I've also used the micro in the past, and
Yeah.
yeah,
You do come across that a lot as a law enforcement officer. It's either the M2A, salami, or micro right now. Really, really dangerous weapons. But all right, we're gonna move on to viewer questions. Stick or Akogi, if you have any, let me know. Give you a couple minutes.
one more thing I'd like to mention is that if I believe that the firearm laws should be equal for all, police are able to use automatic rifles, so I believe that citizens should be able to also. We had a case recently with a deputy who went rogue in the Ridgeway County Sheriff's Office, and he was utilizing an automatic weapon. And since legal citizens are only capable of having semi-automatic weapons, well, this law only this law affects magazine capacity. It does not explicitly ban firearms. It's an indirect way of banning all of the firearms which do have automatic capabilities. And I believe that if you have a situation like we had recently with the rogue deputy going around shooting people with the automatic gun, it provides an unfair advantage to that person than it does to the legal person who's carrying a semi-automatic gun, which is all they're legally allowed to carry.
So
So I
this
believe,
lawsuit is also on fairness as well.
yes.
All right. So we do have a couple questions from Akogi. You can go ahead and ask them now. Are you able to unmute or are you suppressed? And if you are, Timbo, could you fix that? All right, rejoin the call. All right, are you able to talk?
Is it working? All right, there we go. It's working. Okay. Hello, hello. So I do have a few questions. Um, so my first question, how would you change this bill to fix your issues with it? How would you if you were the governor, how would you fix this bill? What specifically do you this is two questions probably. So how would you change this bill and what specifically within the bill that you totally disagree with? Those are my two questions.
I
I have
disagree with the fact that the law is or the law is written so that it, like I said before, it only bans magazine capacity, but how the game works, you cannot load a lower capacity magazine into a firearm, which or the law says that any firearm capable of firing that many rounds, which I believe is a developer issue that they take advantage of to ban these firearms. If I were to change the bill to what I can do, I would just completely eliminate it. I believe that the firearm laws that Ridgeway originally had were the best and that they did not need changing.
Okay, my next question. So where are the currently the salami and the micro? Where are they currently sold?
They are currently sold by the illegal dealer.
And what is that word? That one word before dealer. What is that like? What does that define?
Illegal, but as I
Yeah.
mentioned before, it is all a developer issue. The way that a person can legally obtain one of these firearms is if they purchase it from somebody who does have an RFL ID and they're selling it to someone who does have an RFL ID.
Yes. So no, I'm not trying to I understand your purpose. I understand you're here for the Second Amendment, which I do respect. I also support the Second Amendment. I believe citizens should have the right to bear firearms and to bear, the right to protect themselves. But this is also a game at the end of the day, and the whole purpose of the micro and the salami were to be illegal. Like that's why they're only sold at the illegal dealer, and that's why they're not purchasable at say Blocksmart. That's why they're not purchasable at say the Sterling Gun Club, because their main purpose, when created by developer oversight, was to be illegal. When the salami first came out, the it was made illegal by developer oversight. Squarehead he made an announcement about it, saying that the salami is illegal to obtain. Then all of a sudden, when the micro came out, he changed his words and said that it would be up to the government. But my point is that the main purpose, just like the M2A, that the guns were purposely supposed to be made illegal. That's the purpose of those guns. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do understand your whole point where like yes, the guns are easily to be able to be obtained by the illegal dealer, and criminals still carry them around, illegal or not legal or not legal. But that is, yeah, that is my point. So
No, no offense to
interject.
you, but I believe that the it's just a game argument is ridiculous in this situation because if the developers were the ones to explicitly make the guns illegal, then that would be a different story. But the developers added the firearms and said that it was up to the government to legislate them. And since it's the government legislating them, that's why I'm fighting against it because I can't fight against what DO does because it's their game. They decide what happens. So, if you get what I mean by that.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that. Totally.
So we
I'm
do
just
have another question from Stick. We're gonna move on to that, and then Akogi will get back to you. All right. So as a LEO, do you see that gun crime from the banned firearms or from other prohibited high-capacity firearms? Um, that is the question.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, as a LEO, do you see gun crime from the banned firearms or from other high-capacity weapons?
When you look at the game, the more experienced people, the more experienced criminal who've been in the game for a while or know people, those are typically the ones who are carrying these weapons because, as it is, there's only one place you can buy it that not many people are aware of. When you look at criminals who are new to the game or starting out, they typically carry firearms that you'd purchase from the store. So, yes, I would say that they are used by criminals, but I also say that they are used by people who are not criminals, who just are looking for another firearm, something easier to defend themselves with. Because criminals are going to get their hands on them regardless. All it does is put it so if there's not time for law enforcement to arrive on the scene, it's pretty much a micro which can kill someone in a short while versus a short time, few seconds, if even less, versus someone who's carrying an M1 or a revolver or something. And when you put it like that, it's completely unfair for the legal people.
All right, I hope that answered your question, Steak. Kogi, did you have any other question?
No, I have no more questions.
All right, so I think. Oh wait, Sick. We do have another question from Sick. Do you believe the banned firearms are used for self-defense?
Definitely. It's more difficult to obtain them, but there definitely are a number of people who do use them for self-defense. There are even some police officers who use them when they were legal, of course.
All right. Also hope that answers your other question. Sick. Do we have any other questions? Give it 30 seconds.
Another thing I'd like to mention is that this law, like I said before, this law was not passed in the interest of making Ridgeway safer. This law was passed explicitly for Large Titanic to say that his government was accomplishing something, as he said that he thought it was what the people wanted, and then he found it surprising when there was a backlash against it by the NRA and other citizens and even law enforcement who aren't associated with the NRA.
All right. Thank you. We have another question from Stick. Do you believe that police officers should be able to have these firearms while regular citizens can't?
No, as I said before, I believe all firearm laws should be equal. If criminals cannot have them, or if law-abiding citizens cannot have them, I do not believe that anyone should be able to have them because it goes into fairness. That being said, I'm not saying that I believe nobody should be able to have them. I believe everybody should be able to have them.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any last questions? I saw you join Talon. If you have any questions, let me know. Um, Stick, Akogi, Lex.
Um, Another thing I'd like to add on to what Akogi mentioned earlier is when he mentioned how the illegal dealer is called the illegal dealer, before they passed the business law saying that all dealers have to have a license to sell, including the Sterling Gun Club and Blacksmart and the Parks dealership, there was nothing making purchasing from the illegal dealer illegal except for the fact that it was in a forbidden area that citizens could not access.
All right. I think we're good on questions. Haven't been asked any. Thank you for joining us, Sage. We appreciate you joining us. If you'd like to join again, just let Timbo or I know. We do hope to have more reports like this. But thank you for joining us.
Of course, and I was glad to be here so I can let people know what I think about this whole situation.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna conclude. Good night.